If you want to recap, look at the pinned comment, because we're jumping right into this Ho-Oh versus Dio Speed lead matchup. So Dio Speed is going to go for some form of hazard. Okay, Spike, so he's got Rock somewhere else, and Sacred Fire just takes it out in one shot. So we know it's not Sash, and we know that Ho-Oh is very likely banded, because a non-Sash Dio Speed that just drops to Ho-Oh's Sacred Fire unboosted should not be used. So very likely that it's CB. And Giratina O is not the best switch into Ho-Oh. Matter of fact, Ho-Oh actually loves facing off against Giratina O. So either Edgar gets it in Spirited's head, and Spirited starts thinking, oh, this guy has Stone Edge because he's really weak to Ho-Oh. Or he's locked into Sacred Fire and would prefer to come back and launch Brave Birds. Either way, he's going to get out of there, go to T-Tar, and the Giratina just fires off Draco Meteor. So when you try to launch Draco Meteors against Ho-Oh, then that generally doesn't go well. But worked out here by virtue of the choice band thing, I think. I think if it wasn't choice band, well, if it wasn't choice band, then it might have given up 2 layers of Dio Speed, so worth it. But let's not get too hung up on that. We've got the necessary details. I'm really trying to be more efficient. Anyway, just goes right for the crunch in case Giratina EQs. Surprised to... Well, I guess it doesn't have an EQ if it just stays in like that, because EQ would take out T-Tar like that. And I'm actually more surprised that Inspirited didn't go back to Ho-Oh there, because clearly it's not going to have Stone Edge. And if it was really going to... I mean, it could be a great bluff on Edgar's part, but Stone Edge Giratina just doesn't exist to begin with. You know, I think switching back to Ho-Oh there was better, because there's no way to reason your way into the idea that the Tina does not have EQ. So either that T-Tar might be Scarf. That's the only explanation I can think of why it would stay in and EQ, as opposed to going back to Ho-Oh, which is at full health, no rocks up. And okay, that's a stupid ad. As opposed to going back to Ho-Oh with no rocks up against a -2 special attack Giratina O, and you just get to launch some Brave Birds. So I think, I don't know why else you would just risk the T-Tar to dying like that. And it actually would have worked out really well, because Edgar gets out of there and goes to Bronzong, so I guess his Tina doesn't have EQ, but there was no way for Inspirited to know it. So, and it crunches again, thanks to that gnarly defense drop, letting it ensure that 3 KO through lefties, as Bronzong gets a Brock, so there are hazards, and Edgar's going to get out of there, go to Jirachi. And it is a Scarf Jirachi, and Inspirited just stays in and lets T-Tar go down, so you got a lot of damage out of it. I really do think it must have been Scarfed. Otherwise, Ho was the superior switch. In comes Inspirited's own rocking Jirachi, so we've got an abundance of Steel Psychics in this game, and now here comes Ho, unfortunately, with Rocks up. So it's going to be limited, and Edgar makes a great move by Toxing, not just to ruin the Ho-Oh, but if Jirachi stays in, you don't necessarily need to attack it because it's doing so little damage. So you can just get yourself into that win-win position where if something else comes in, it's getting Toxic. If Jirachi stays in, I'm just going to use it to accumulate leftovers. You know, sometimes not KOing a Pokemon can be the better move. Not just in a situation like this, but yeah. So, great Brave Bird from Spirited just to get the most out of it. And I don't know if Giratina was worth going to there, because Giratina is at really high health. Also, note how it... Let's just see how it drops again, just because that's so satisfying. Ho is amazing. But just because Bronzong is such low health and Giratina is at such high health, it feels... Because now you have no Giratina, and the supposed trade-off you get from it is that your Bronzong's still around, but your Bronzong's at low health. So I don't know if that was worth it, but down it goes. In comes Groudon and Mewtwo. So we don't know what... You know, Giratina would have been really nice for this to help out with this Mewtwo. I mean, there's still Scarf Jirachi and Bronzong, so it depends on the set, but, you know, Bronzong's going to be sacked here, and we see that the Mewtwo is Ice Beam, and it is not Life Orbed, nor is it Leftovers, and it switches out, so I don't know what that suggests. I mean, I guess if it's Ice Beam, Thunder, and then, like, Recover and, you know, Calm Mind or something, then sure, you don't want to risk the Sun Thunder on the Bronzong, and then it explodes and then KOs you. That I get. So, yeah, because if T-Tars is only... We don't know that he has Kyogre or not yet. He very well could, but I think it's likelier in that last slot that he has some sort of ground, resist, or immune, because so far he's just got a lead Ho-Oh. And he's going to want something so that Groudon and Garchomp don't just carve him to shreds. So he goes to his own Garchomp against the Bronzong, takes a pretty hefty chunk from Gyro Ball. We don't know if... seems likely Scarf. I mean, the other option for Mewtwo is that it's a Scarf Mewtwo, and then it's locked into Ice Beam. Not that it doesn't have a move to finish Bronzong off with, but if it is Scarf Mewtwo, then that's another reason. Why would you run Scarf Mewtwo, you might wonder, if you haven't been following this tournament, or if it's been a while since you were following this tournament? And the answer is Mewtwo outruns Swift Swimmers even in rain. And then by extension, obviously, things like Rock Polish Groudon at +2. Just cleans up offense really, really hard. So Chomp comes in with full health Groudon around, then Garchomp is not looking like it's in a great position to late game clean. He goes for SD and not just going right for the Fire Fang. I wonder why that... He must not have Fire Fang, then he must be sub. No, he just goes right for Fire Fang. Okay. I mean, I thought that was interesting. I guess he thought, oh, I want to +2 outrage the Groudon switch, which is fair. Yeah, we're not gonna over dissect that one. Yeah, I'm an evolving, changing human being. I'm not going to over dissect that one, but because there's a lot of possibilities there, but I think nothing really worth getting hung up over, especially with the unrevealed Pokemon. So in comes Latios. Surprised that Bronzong didn't explode, honestly. I guess he might not have it, but I think Bronzong's got to have Explosion. But also, maybe you just thought Gyro Ball rolls? I don't know, because that first one hit really hard. Nah, I don't know. I think probably, I would venture it doesn't have Explosion. But the Chomp is not Salic. You know, Salic Chomp generally doesn't run Fire Fang. So that's why. And I'm not going to overcorrect myself. I'm fighting the habit. Anyway, here comes Rachi, which is going to take HP Fire because Sun just barely survived and gets a U-turn, and that U-turn will put it into Mewtwo Ice Beam range. And we don't know who's got the advantage here because we don't know Inspirited's last. And that, again, when we think common... it obviously has to be a Lottie Twin. Duh. Because right now he's torn apart by ground moves and Kyogre. There are no water resists on that team. So it absolutely should be a Lottie Twin on Inspirited's end. So with Jirachi tasked with taking these Ice Beams from Mewtwo, then it's very possible that Inspirited can leverage that Mewtwo-Lottie combo into victory. But the fact that Groudon can take one Ice Beam from Mewtwo is big. And he's still got a free U-turn here. I mean, I guess he could... Yeah, he doesn't even want to... Well, he can Ice Beam, withstand the U-turn, and then Jirachi's dead, because it's going to take 19, and then... Actually, no, it would survive one more round of rocks. I mean, just barely, but yeah. And then Latios can't come in, so Groudon has to eat the EQ. But Inspirited's Jirachi's also dead, so... No, I think actually if Edgar hits the U-turn on this Mewtwo, then he's probably going to... He's probably advantaged, because it's not just going to be a Lottie war. I mean, the fact that Inspirited doesn't have a Sun team makes his Lottie a little less likely to have HP Fire, so he might be able to outspeed it. But then he's still got to contend with Jirachi, which will only need one, max 2 Iron Flinches. So still pretty good in Edgar's favor. So, but I'm wondering, is it worth it sack Jirachi and then go to your Lottie and then force it? Because if you go to... Yeah, I think so, because if you just let your Mewtwo Ice Beam here, then you get no actual KO out of it. Whereas with Jirachi, then you get that KO... If you sack Jirachi, then you lose one, but you also get a KO, and then you still have Mewtwo around to do Mewtwo. No, I think Edgar's favored either way. But I think sacking Jirachi is the better move, yeah. Oh, he just goes for Healing Wish. Oh, that was a great move. Okay, well, that changes things entirely because, yeah, there's Inspirited's Lottie. And unless it has Draco Meteor, it's not going to actually KO the thing. So, I wonder if Ice Beaming it wasn't better. I wonder if going to Mewtwo and Ice Beam wasn't better first, because Latias can actually beat Groudon one-on-one, whereas Mewtwo at this point won't. But it's a moot point because Latios outspeeds and Draco Meteors, and that's going to be it. So, yeah, Edgar played this one very, very nicely. I think had to, if Inspirited got more out of Ho early on, that might have been different. But tight game one. Let's move on to game two without hesitation. Tentacruel Fortress. We got some different kinds of hazard stacking in this one. Pump, Spikes, Lumfori, okay, trying to handle Darkrai. Got 2 layers of Spikes, and now he's going to go for the Spin Block. And honestly, Tentacruel should never actually click Rapid Spin unless it's guaranteed, in my opinion. It's just too tempting. You're just going to thud into Giratina. Misses an Icy Wind, gets Dragon Clawed, so we're seeing a physically leaning Giratina. Oh, I'm not saying it couldn't have a special move, but it's more likely that it's physical moves plus Will-O-Wisp. So, in comes Palkia in revenge as, Giratina takes paltry damage. I mean, it would have been nice to drop it down to 60, but yeah. So, so we see some interesting stuff here. So, Fortress goes down to Spatial Rend. No Custap Berry, I was secretly hoping for. Oh, he thought it was Lum, and then Custap exploded the Palkia. That would have been amazing. But we also see no leftovers on the Palkia, which does not really signify that it's anything, because Palkia runs non-lefty, Palkia can run lefties, but it very rarely does. But more importantly, we don't see any boosting damage on the Spatial Rend. That's what we were looking for. It's just regular looking Spatial Rend. So we know just off the top of my head, I don't think it's Lustrous Orb. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. Lustrous Orb would have really chunked for you. It's certainly not Specs, if anything. So it could be Scarf, but it could be Haben or, some... There's something I'm totally blanking on because it's been a while. But the point is, probably not boosting item, so that's important for your damage calcs. So Edgar goes to Bronzong. Tentacruel generally on Rain team, so minimal risk of Palkia pulling out the Fire Blast here. Now, not a hard and fast rule, but generally it's worth it even if you do take that Fire Blast, because you know it's not going to be Specs boosted or anything. So Zong can take it okay and still be in shape to withstand some Choice Dragon moves later. And then you'll have your Rocks and 2 layers of Spikes, and that's the leverage you need. I mean, maybe you sack Bronzong after, but then you have a bunch of Dragon moves to start raining down on the opponent with all these hazards, and Inspirited only has a layer of T-Spikes, so would maybe be worth it. Also depends on what else Edgar has, because if he has a Lottie to pivot to, he can go to that, because even Lottie would withstand a Spatial Rend on a prediction. But instead, we're in a more interesting position, because now Bronzong is really going to be forced to reveal whether it has EQ or not, because otherwise Palkia's just going to sub in its face and start spamming Hydro. Oh, that's an unfortunate miss. And, okay, it does have EQ. That miss also really... Ooh, that's rough. Well, we also see it's a roll for EQ to break the sub, and it's a 2-hit KO with Hydro. Maybe it is Lustrous Orb after all. Good lord, that did a lot of damage. Wow, I don't... yeah, maybe I'm, I don't know, my head calcs have been famously terrible for a while. This is why I use the actual calc all the time. So, wow, so Palkia is pretty much out of commission because of hazards now. Shame about that. Those early Hydro misses. Great move. Oh, no, that's terrible. I was going to say, nice idea on Edgar's end to try to preserve Zong and get Giratina in to just pick the Palkia off with Shadow Sneak. And Inspirited makes a great move, because it's not just, oh, I think he's going to go to Giratina. It's, oh, he wants to preserve that Bronzong. Because he has Fori and Bronzong. He's not going to have many more Steel types, right? And he's going to have a lot of offense to parade on this hazard thing with. So he's going to want to preserve that Bronzong if he can help it to, withstand Choice Dragon moves later. So he's going to try and, and even if the Zong stays in, then it's some chip damage, which is going to be big. But if he gets the Giratina, that's so big, and that sucks. And now everything with the Hydro miss, that could have made up for You know, that great prediction should have made up for all the Hydro Miss EQ roll stuff. Actually, the second EQ also did 24. So that first one break-in was really... Ugh, that's really unfortunate. Nice idea on Edgar's part, obviously. No fault to him. But that really bites, because Spatial Run is 95. Ugh, that's awful. So, and he's going to just sacrifice the Shadow Sneak, because with all these hazards, he doesn't exactly want to switch around. That is really unfortunate, though. So here comes Zong into... And another Draco miss. Good lord. Into... and, yeah, so that's not good, because on a rain team... Yeah, Tentacruel Rain. Then these are generally going to have Thunder, so he can't exactly threaten it after. So, and Spirit is just not got on Lady Luck's bad side for this one. So, yeah, Edgar not risking it. He's still got his healthy Zong, and in comes Kyogre, and is he going to... No, he's just going to attack, yeah. Gyro Ball, chunking it. This Kyogre has lefties at least, so he's good, but... Oh, he doesn't go to a Kyogre check. He's just going to stay in and explode. I mean, that's good for cleanup purposes, I suppose. I was expecting a switch to a Kyogre answer, but maybe his Kyogre answer is T-Spike's hampered, so that might be why. Here comes Tina O again on Jirachi, and Jirachi's not a big offensive threat. In comes Edgar's own Kyogre as a response on a Giratina O double. Okay, so... Yeah, okay, nice move on Inspirited Zen. He's got to be aggressive. He tries to get his own Giratina in on something like an EQ or a double switch to something that would take advantage of Jirachi, like Groudon. So that was a great move on Inspirited Zen and covered both options. I mean, risky and aggressive, but he's got to because he can't land an attack. And there is Thunder, and Kyogre is not specs or anything strong enough to take out Giratina at that range. Even survives rocks, so he at least gets the... I mean, taking heavy losses here, and now he's in Edgar's Giratina's Shadow Sneak range, which is big. So he's looking to be running out of fuel, but he's making it close. Okay, so yeah, that's why he exploded the Bronzong, because he didn't want Palkia to just come in and take poison damage. So nicely done there. And okay, here comes Dialga. If anything can bring it back, it's some form of Dialga. We don't know what Edgar's last could be. I would well, there's a lot of things it could be. I would say something that could withstand Soldew, Latios rather, Thunders would be nice, because Bronzon's getting smacked. But there's a lot of options. There's Palkia with a big Surf. Good lord. And Inspirited actually hits a Draco Meteor, to everyone's amazement. Wow, so that Surf hit really, really hard. I was definitely boosted of some sort. I mean, I guess it could be like naive Dialga or something, but that might mean... If that is a boosted Palkia, then the last could be a Scarfer. And Tina comes back in, and... Did he not have anything better? Okay, maybe it's... Well, he withstands the -2 Drake, which still does a lot of damage. That makes me want to say that Dialga is specs. Were Palkia and Dialga both specs there? Yeah, insightful commentary, but I'm not calcing everything in this, so... Palkia was boosted. I think that... I mean, it could also... That Dialga is also boosted of some sort. Good lord, that did a lot. So now, if it's a defensive Jirachi, then... Oh, it doesn't have EQ, so he can actually... Well, he doesn't choose to go for Wish. Because if he got... I think he had to bank on Giratina not having EQ and Wishing, and then trying to beat the last that way. Okay, so it is Dialga, so that does withstand Thunder. Oh, it's Bulk. Okay, so it was never winning that anyway. So, yeah. Yeah, that was an unfortunate one, but... Yeah, that's the game. Okay, so let's move on to the next series. In the video linked in the pinned comment, we had Stone versus ZF, FC versus EO, and then Stone versus Hack. So I'm looking at the replays now. So that means our next volley is Crystal versus Twash. They played in the prelims, I think. Yeah, I think they did. And there was that hilarious game with Twash's sub-Doug trio. So, how will the revenge game go? Yeah, go look that one up on the channel if you can. That one's really fun. Okay, so Deoxys versus Mew. This is an interesting matchup because Mew is always like, oh, I want a Rocks because there's no way Deoxys taunts me on the U-turn. But I also want a U-turn because I don't want to just get taunted and then fall behind. So, Plays it fairly safe with U-turn, because even if Rock's on U-turn, that's not so bad, whereas getting taunted on your own Rocks is really not good. And the advantages, I guess, are, well, you can make cases for both advantages, so it's never really certain. But he just goes for a U-turn, goes to Giratina, and Deoxys is bulky, so it survives Sneak, too. Rocks and Spikes, doesn't feel like switching and risking any damage. He goes to his own Giratina to chase out the other Giratina. Not sure I'm loving this trend of relying on one's own Giratina to beat the other, but alright. Oh, and Draco miss. And outright. Ooh, that's... Well, that sucks. I mean, I know that if you have a plus speed, max speed Giratina, then you're probably outrunning pretty much every other one, but I'm not saying that was deserved, by the way. That was an awful miss, but that sucks. So now he's going to go to Latios and Draco. I don't know, man. I feel like maybe going to Latios... I mean, if you missed Draco here, then obviously that would have been just as bad. But just on the principle of the thing, I think going to Latios and... if you take a Shadow Sneak, you take a Shadow Sneak, You'll still have a full health Giratina to help out with Kyogre later on. And more importantly, you'll have deleted the opposing Giratina. And most of the time, Giratina is not going to switch in because it's going to be a very healthy team, with Steel types and everything. And I know there's Rocks and Spikes, but I don't know. It's still a very terrible miss. So now Kyogre comes in, getting well, that better be a Scarf Kyogre, otherwise that Mew's going to explode on you. Yeah, so... And if he had a Giratina, this is because of the miss, not because of the choice to not go Latios. But if he had a Giratina, he would have blocked that explosion early as well. So he's losing more Pokemon than just the Giratina because of it. Because Mew's not going to touch Giratina otherwise. So that really sucks. In come Mewtwo and Dialga. There's a Scarf Dialga, Draco deleting Mewtwo. Alright, well, this is a fast one. Yeah, not much else to do about it. Giratina being down on Crystal's side means that Rock Polish Groudon could do it. There is Rock Polish. Gotta have Dragon Claw. Gotta be strong enough to delete Latios. It does delete Latios. Is that Life Orb? Yes, it is. Life Orb Groudon, the Forgotten Terror. Now, Crystal does have some more defensive backbone in his own Groudon, so nicely done there. And he Rock Polishes himself. Okay, yeah, so... nice move from Crystal. And, yeah, so there was... Twash fell too far behind. I mean, I guess he could have EQ'd and Life Orbed his way. I mean, maybe. It was very unlikely, given that Crystal had another Pokemon to sacrifice just for Life Orb, and then Dialga is going to win, so... yeah, that Draco miss really set the tone earlier in a slugfest like this. Both of these series so far have been testament to just how infuriating 90% accuracy can be in a tier that so heavily has them. So we got another Dio Speed from Twash, and we got Fori this time. This time Twash is going to taunt, not wanting any T-Spikes to go up from Fori. He's not going to bother trying to get up rocks on Spin Spam. He's just going to go right to Kyogre, not showing lefties. In comes Latios. Thunder, right for the para. Nice idea on Twash's end. Double to Fori on Dio Speed. So we're back here. So aggressive maneuvering from Crystal. Seeing if Twash is going to slip up and give him those T-Spikes for free. He doesn't. And now we're back to this song and dance where Crystal is pressured to spin. And he's going to Thunder again. Nice moving from Twash. Very nice. So back to Deoxys Speed. And he's going to eat a Thunder as well, not paralyzing. And now he's going to get up those rocks. And apologies for the ad in the background. And so he's got that hazard advantage. Here comes Kingdra. So we're going to see a Weather War, and we're going to see Groudon switch right into the Special Dragon move. Well, I was hoping for Draco Meteor, because that's going to take a chunk out, but Dragon Pulse does the job well, too. But here comes Kyogre, and there's a double to Fori. I'm not sure about that one from Crystal, because Kyogre was definitely coming in on Groudon there, because I mean, no matter what it was doing, so either way, with Crystal not even having rocks up with Groudon now, then Twash has a healthier Weather Setter and a hazard advantage. So Latios coming in, eating Ice Beam. I mean, eating the... Ooh, and there's a freeze, so some payback for... Oh, and it thaws out immediately. Well, it gets a big Thunder off, and Kyogre shows Salig Berry. That is cool. That is Twash's creativity. That is a really great option, because Kyogre does get knocked down just by taking... weathering hits, if you pardon the pun, all the time with its fellow Ubers. Then it does get knocked down to low speed, and then or low HP rather, and then it gets picked off by something faster. But with Salic, you take away that option for Mewtwo or whatever to, and actually, it's not just for taking away revenge killing options. It helps Kyogre beat Lottie one-on-one. Like for example, let's say the scenario plays out in a where Lottie takes where Lottie thunders and survives an Ice Beam, but it would die to the next Ice Beam, but it's faster than Kyogre, so it doesn't matter. Oh, well, there's Salic Berry, and now Kyogre is faster. So really great use of Salic there by Twash. Love it a lot. All sorts of cool stuff it can do. Obviously, it can be triggered by hazards as well. Now, in this scenario, then, it didn't really come to much, and Giratina is going to threaten Shadow Sneak, but he brings in Dialga, and the pressure is going to keep coming. So, Crystal shows Heatran Sun. Heatran absorbs Draco Meteor well. Now, that exchange is big because as soon as hazard or rocks or spikes go up, then Kyogre's dead, and the Kingdra. Well, Kingdra's speed is actually pretty nice, but it's more about the water moves being neutered, and yeah, so Twash has to be very careful about that. So in comes Kingdra on Heatran now, gets Toxic. Nice move on Crystal's end, but he is threatening a big rain boosted Hydro here, as Heatran with the obligatory Protect, and Twash burns his Hydro Pump there. Here comes Tina O to absorb it, withstands it decently, but not quite in Shadow Sneak range. But they'll go down together, and he doesn't try to preserve Heatran, because he knows Heatran, if he can get Sun going, that's going to be really big. Here comes Groudon, there comes Kyogre, and alright, so with Groudon being the slower one, then it's going to have its Sun win out. Because if Groudon was faster, then Sun would have activated and then Rain would have replaced it. But yeah, now Groudon has... we're in an interesting position because if Groudon can withstand an Ice Beam, then it can... Then it'll win the Weather War. But if it can't, then it's going to have to switch out. And it looks like it can. But that's fine because Fori and Sun can withstand Hydro Pump fairly easily. And Twash goes for Calm Mind as T-Spikes go down. That's big. And then he crits Surf. Twash says he misclicked the Calm Mind. But, yeah, so in comes Lugia. But it looks like the Weather War is still being won. So it's all about whether or not Twash's remaining Pokemon can win regardless of the Weather War. So if he's got like Kabutops, then not looking so hot. But this Lugia is looking fairly threatening too, depending on what the Dialga set is. If it's choice, then forget it. And I remember Calm Mind Lugia had a big influence in this tournament. It's really hard to stop for a lot of offense once it gets going, because you remove that whole thing where it doesn't actually hit very hard. So there's Paralysis from the Sun Flailing Thunder Kyogre. And now it is going to... I mean, you're pretty much praying at this point. There's a call... He's trying to get another Calm Mind on the roost. And there's Whirlwind. And here's Dialga. So he's going to try and Outrage. And Lugia's pretty unbreakable here, so... Well, there's a crit. There's a... full para. No, he's going to go to Kyogre. Well, now at least Rain will be active. Yeah, okay. If he's got a Kabutops, now he can have a Rain active Kabutops and force the Lugia out. So when it comes back in, it'll have lost its boosts, and it'll take rocks, and it'll be paralyzed. So maybe easier to build up some momentum to win with. So, nope, Giratina O. That doesn't look very promising. It's pretty much just hoping to crit at this point as Ice Beam wallops it. And that's going to be... Yeah, that's... the game, even if it crits at this point. Oh, it did, okay. So it crits, but now it's... I mean, if it was an Expert Belt Dialga, maybe, but it's not. He lets it go down to bring in his last safely. What is that last going to be? Oh, it's his own Groudon. Oh, but it's not Lumberry. Oh, it's Life Orb. Okay, so this is just a matter of if Crystal can withstand the residual or not. Well... Oh, is this going to be a tie? I think he needs to... No, he needs to... No, he's out of Life Orb range. He needs double Protect. No, it is a tie. Oh, and he gets the double Protect too. That's unfortunate. I mean, he did have to crit the Lugia, obviously, but yeah. So that was definitely a luck-filled series, but Way it goes sometimes. Okay, so now we're moving on to a series from round 2 of the... Oh, this is game 2 from that, I think. Yeah, so now we're moving on to a series from round 2 of the tiebreaker, because those first 2 series were from the first round. So this is Feint versus EO. Throwback matchup. These guys were both around. Actually, Twash and Crystal were too, but these guys were really known for their other tier prowess. Yeah, I tried to say 16 things at the same time, so I'm training myself to just not say anything when that comes, and just let it pass. Let it pass. The important stuff will come back. So, this is round 2 with EO triumphing over FC in the first one, and Feint was one of the 2 players who received a bye based on record for this little playoff, the other being Hack. So we've got Dio Speed from EO, Dio Speed from Feint. We got a Trick Scarf from EO and receiving a Lumberry in return, trying to get the jump on any Scarf Darkrai, or just Darkrai in general. So rocks go up from Feint, not bothering with any taunt stuff, and now rocks from EO. That's interesting because most Trick Scarf Deoxys focus on spikes, because if you try to trick the Scarf and you want both rocks and spikes, then you're not. It's easier to focus on just getting the spikes with DOS if you're also tricking a Scarf, because limited turns and everything. So it's generally preferred. So that's interesting. Does it not have spikes? Are there spikes somewhere else on the team? Oh no, he's just got spikes there, and he just wanted to outsource it here. So he's got some full para action very early on, and that lets him preserve it by going to Rayquaza on not a Shadow Sneak but a full para. Yeah. And we got an interesting exchange here as Feint says he declawed there. Nice move. And EO reveals that he's Habenberry, so that's a competitive disadvantage because he just needlessly revealed his item to his opponent. For shame. But then you remember that there's honor among DPP Ubers players. Yeah. Unless you're on the ladder and using Mew Pass, in which case you suck. But yeah, in this tournament, then, it's an honorable affair. And he doesn't E-Speed because he goes for a DD instead, and now he's going to get 2 DDs because I don't know about that spike there. I mean, very tempting, obviously, but now he's going to have 2 free DDs, or 2 DDs on Rayquaza, so yeah, it's not, he can't even lock it into Outrage, so this looks like ball game over. So, some unfortunate stuff from, Feint, for Feint there. Avoidable at least a little bit with the Deoxys, I guess, but yeah, that sucked. So we're going right into game 2. Tentacruel, another Dio Speed, Taunt, no T-Spikes. Now we're going to have this little spin war, and now the Taunt does not wear off as Palkia comes in. Spatial Rend crits Groudon right away. And we're not going to see any staying in Custap or whatever, as just another Spatial Rend rips into Cresselia hard. Here comes Dio Speed, going to get that big that hazard advantage. Now he can get up rocks and then spin block with Tina O. Here comes Groudon for Custap rocks, I assume? No, he just taunts. I'm not sure why that Groudon came in. I mean, maybe, I guess because Groudon can limit Deoxys. Yeah, if he's running Sunstall, then nothing else is going to be able to hit Deoxys very hard, and Groudon can actually, limit it in that way. But he taunts and gives up 2 layers, so this one's looking very faint. Oh, Pasho Groudon, very cool. Well, now he's lost the Weather War with Sunstall. Not that that's necessarily a deal breaker, but with Cresselia, it's kind of a big deal. So now Giratina O comes in, backed by a million hazards. And Tentacruel just drops to that physically invested Dragon Claw. Always happy to see that. So that means very likely this has Will-O-Wisp, if it's physical, because that's how you make sure you don't get walled by things like... Oh, or Shadow Force. Very cool. And yeah, Shadow Force Giratina is really cool. We saw that in a couple tournament videos if you want to go back and brush up on those. And EO makes a great move there by, well... Still falling kind of behind. He had to hope it was Shadow Force and not Will-O-Wisp. I mean, if it's Will-O-Wisp, then he's probably just going to lose at this point anyway, because he's so far behind. But with that is very clearly a, well, if not necessarily a bulk-up Dialga, very practically a bulk-up Dialga. But a Dialga without any offensive investment, so that's why that Dragon Claw is less than 50. So, yeah, we see that, I mean, even if he withstands the EQ, he's got to go back to Crest and, like, try and withstand Shadow Force again. He just goes to, yeah, well, doesn't get it right. He tries to Moonlight on the, I mean, Cresselia withstands Shadow Force because it's Cresselia, but its Ice Beam doesn't even KO Giratina back. Oh, and he Dragon Claws there and gets Moonlighted on, but I mean, he can just Shadow Force again freely because even, yeah, see, that's the thing. Even if Cresselia Moonlights, then now it's in range and now something else has to switch in. And, you know, Dugtrio is just going to get super deleted. Yeah, so that was satisfying. A little bit of overkill there. And, I mean, just keep Shadow Forcing. It's nothing really stopping. Seeing Shadow Force Giratina put in this much work makes me very happy. It's just such a cool set. You could say he should have just Shadow Forced right from the very beginning instead of Dragon Clawing, but, I mean, caught up. But now, Cresselia is still... Oh, no, that was not a... Oh. Alright, well, that might have been a big misstep by going for Hydro there instead of Spatial Rent. I mean, I know unlucky and everything, and very cool to see Lunar Dance on this crest. You usually don't see that. So now Dialga is going to come in, and now there's that horrible possibility of bulk up Dialga just winning against offense. But it's okay, it's not a choiced Hydro Pump. I mean, it still could do very bad things because it's Sub Protect and Palkia, you know, it's pressuring Palkia's Spatial Rends and poison everything. But oh, good lord, that's all. Well, at least, well, and he would have taken more health from the sub. So good Hydro from Feint there, and now he Spatial Rends, and you know, not great luck. If he's not choice, I don't know who that Hydro Pump was for. That's the thing. He could have versed the 95 as opposed to the 80. Because Aqua Tail, yeah, okay, so... And now he's bulking up, so... Oh, he's got an Earth Power Dialga. Okay, should be fine, as that Dragon Claw does not very much. I mean, it's still possible with, like, a million Protects and everything, but... Oh, he doesn't even go for the double Protect. Has he got something in the back to try and... Oh, yeah, he's got Giratina, of course, to... You know, a nice teammate to help with this T-Spike's sub-protect stuff. And the Kyogre is not Lumberry, so it is going to get poisoned and sub-protect. But because of that huge hazard advantage Feint has, then these Dialga and Giratina aren't starting out at the full... If they were starting out at full health, that would really be something. Because that's the cool thing about Crest with Lunar Dance on this team. It actually has two purposes. Number one, in DPP, then Lunar Dance and Healing Wish will restore you to full health even if you take hazard. So that means if you're at 1%, and there's a very funny application of this earlier in the tournament. It was Finchnator versus someone, I forget. But the point is that hazards go before Healing Wish. Whereas in every other generation, then it's hazards, or it's Healing Wish, then hazards. So you can send in your 1% Dragonite and get Healing Wish to full and then drop to 75 with rocks. But you can still Healing Wish a 1% Dragonite. Whereas in DPP, if you Healing Wish a 1% Dragonite, it'll die to rocks first. And then the next Pokemon you send in will be Healing Wished. And what happened in that other game was that someone tried to Healing Wish without knowing that's how it worked, and tried to Healing Wish a 1% something, I don't even remember what it was, and that 1% something died to rocks. And then there was no choice but for a Rayquaza to come in and receive the Healing Wish, but the turn was still going, because that's another thing about DPP, Healing Wish, and Lunar Dance. The turn still keeps going if you, even if you Healing Wish first. So it's not like in later gens where you Healing Wish, turn ends, and you can Healing Wish in the face of Draco Meteor and send Dragonite in and still get the Healing Wish. Here, it's like, if you Healing Wish first and you send in Dragonite, then you're still getting hit by that Draco Meteor. And what happened in that other game was that 3 Pokemon died on the same turn, because Healing Wish, attempted Healing Wish recipient just got KO'd by rocks, and then the third Pokemon coming in got hit by the Draco Meteor that Finch used, so... But in this case, then you have... So in DPP, you really want slow Lunar Dance. Or Healing Wish. And Cresselia does deliver on the slow front. But what also is really cool here is that well, two things. We've got that whole, well, you wanted to sub-protect from full HP, right? Well, now, even if you have, like, as long as you don't die to hazards, then you will get that Dialga back to, or that Giratina. That Dialga or Giratina back to full HP so you can sub-protect. And what's really crucial is that Lunar Dance, unlike Healing Wish, also restores PP. So if early in the game you burn through all your subs and protect, stalling something out, then you're not going to be able to do it again later on if you get forced out. But with Lunar Dance, you get back up to full health, and you get all your subs and protects back. So I really love the synergy there. Wasn't really used to its fullest possible extent here, but and that Giratina is also faster than Kyogre, so which makes sense. A lot of these Giratinas go for speed, but it's not going to. Oh, it's a speed tie. Yeah, I wasn't even noticing because I was too busy in rapture over Lunar Dance. Yeah, so Feint is gonna. I mean, it was very unlikely that Giratina was gonna be able to break past Dialga and the last with. See, you really have to get out in front with this sub-protect stuff. That's the biggest part of it. So we are going to a Game 3. Let's see what happens there. Can my music play, please? All right, Game 3. What's happening? Kyogre lead, Ho-Oh lead. Interesting. Are we going to see a Pasho Ho-Oh? What's going on? Brave Bird does not delete Kyogre, but it does a pretty good chunk. But it's a not a banded Ho-Oh and a pretty decently bulky Kyogre, so that's, I mean, it's better than Ho-Oh getting outsped, obviously, but now Latias comes in, and here comes Clef, and this could get, oh, and there's a Draco miss, so this is already looking kind of ugly. There's a Wish, to Wish up Kyogre, yep, and Feint gets some T-Spikes down, so that's big. Now Giratina comes in to not get Thunder, because I assume maybe it doesn't mind Thunder Paralysis as much, but here comes that, and he's just going to roar around, scout some. Well, Clef the Clef doesn't have knockoff, so that's big. And just T-Waves instead. And roaring around, not revealing any new Pokemon, but getting poison on the Kyogre is nice. And just going to rest. Alright, so here comes Skarmory. We're going to see a Sleep Talk. We're going to see Dragon. Oh, no Will-O-Wisp. Okay, well, here comes Fori. We're going to see some classic Hazard War stuff as Feint accentuates his T-Spikes with a layer of spikes. And Heatran, okay, so Laz very, very obviously. Groudon. And Feint looking to have a big advantage in the Weather War here as he roars the Kyogre and drags in Palkia, which shows Lum. Lum is underrated on Palkia. I love that as a choice. But he's also going to take T-Spikes. But now he can go to, well, I think he can go to Groudon fairly. Well, no, Latias is fine too. And a good Spatial Rend from EO. I was looking at his username, like, that's not his username. Yeah, EO, but he doesn't take the, yeah, I don't know about that, though, because he has Clef, yeah, Clef is supposed to switch it, so I think he got a little over-eager there, trying to predict a recover or something. But now, with Palkia down, Latias just getting that hit for free, Groudon comes into Dialga and on Clef, and now it looks like Feint might run away with this. Just because he's got a lot of advantages going. Oh, wow. Okay. Take that back. Was not. So, Wish counter. That's not usually how you see Wish used. Usually don't see counter used like that either. And suddenly, Feint has won the Weather. Or, sorry, EO has won the Weather War. Because Kyogre, I mean, hampered though it will be by all these hazards, it's still not going to have any more sun to contest its reign, so Heatran is going to not be as threatening. But Feint is really maxing out his hazards here, and we don't see a ghost from EO, so he's at least going to get the spin off, so not even that spike from Skarmory is going to bother him. And Latias is at low health, but Giratina can come in is the thing. So even though the Weather War is lost and Feint has a big hazard advantage, and I mean, he might have to sit on this Clefable for a while. He's being very thankful that the Clef doesn't have knockoff, but that counter was very cool. What is that item on Clef? Maybe it's male to, maybe it's like Choppleberry or something, or like male to be immune to Trick, or who knows. But yeah, Kyogre's, so now it still looks pretty good because Feint is just going to roar around and KO everything but the Clef and then just sit on the Clef. So here comes Dialga again, showing lefties, so bulk up, and unless this thing has EQ, then... Or Roar, a faster Roar would also maybe be threatening, but then it's Heatran just comes back and threatens Lava Plume burns. So Roar, here comes Skarm. He's going to try and PP stall, but yeah, just getting roared everywhere, and there's only so many wishes that are going to be... Oh, we skipped a turn there. Let me just turn it up to fast. So there's Lava Plume looking for the burn on Skarm as it receives the wish, not taking much in range, gets the spike, but it's not going to be able to last. And the Clef isn't even healing passively, and that means even Clef's utility in this matchup is limited. Now, Fori's going to come in and get paired, so that might be big, but it's not like it's a very contested hazard war, because Feint is so far out in front. He even stays and gets this, you know, gratuitous spin-off, so he takes 2 Dragon Claws. He protects with Heatran, it's fine. And he roars, trying to find that last, can't quite do it. And he goes to Giratina, makes a nice move to both avoid Heatran and Para, and to get some more health back on Giratina. It is soft-boiled, okay, interesting set. Still can't seem to find that last, decides to stay in and just roar, and still can't seem to find it. Still can't seem to find it. There's Spikes, there's Dragon Pulse, just so nothing else would receive the wish. Nice move. Okay, and there's Groudon. So this one looks very much in Feint's favor, as Groudon is just getting hacked to pieces by hazards. And Citrus Groudon, interesting choice. I can see how that would be helpful for the hazard war, and there's rocks at least, but not looking like it's gonna help much. And Dragon Pulse, I mean, I guess theoretically he's got 2 layers of spikes and rocks. I don't know what that move was. And with a not spinning, the going to Latias, I have no idea what that was. Oh, never mind. I take that back. That was presumptuous of me. He wanted to go to Latias as Groudon was sacrificed as a spin block, but then nothing else blocks the Fori from spinning afterwards. And even if there was, then it would be arguably better because you would get another turn of lefties on Fori. I don't know. That was confusing. But the biggest thing about EO's last being Groudon is that it re-wins the weather war for Feint. So now Heatran is even more unstoppable, as Clef has to, I mean, still takes these, but there's a wish. He's going to, I don't know, I don't know why he's not going to Fori. But, yeah, Dialga's looking fairly, he's got like PP stall Lava Plume, which is always a tough task. But yeah, Heatran's just taking this one all the way home. Yeah, not much else you can say about it. You can he's just trying to PP stall it somehow by making it... Oh, no, actually, no, I take it back. That wasn't just a desperation move. He can sub-protect, maybe, by making it burn a bunch of Lava Plumes elsewhere. Maybe Feint should have been more aware of that by roaring more instead of attacking. Yeah, matter of fact, he definitely should have, because look how low he is on Plumes now. This could... Oh, man, that might have been a really, really bad throw, because now he's on... Well, I don't know why he didn't protect there. I guess it was a PP stall kind of thing. Because he had to... Okay, so Feint wins anyway. So Feint takes the series. Okay. I think could have protected... But it was a prediction game at that point. But yeah, very, very interesting series. So now we're going to go with another round 2 series. And that is Crystal versus Aisha. Where was Aisha in the first round of the... Oh, that's... Alright, well, it's clearly been a while, because I thought Feint and Hack were the only ones who got the buys. Alright, you know what? I'm not going to sweat it. Okay, so here we've got Crystal versus Aisha. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so Crystal... Because I'm looking at the replays channel right now, and round 1 is, or actually it's not, you know what, this is going to bother me. Let me, Feint, Hack, yeah, so round 1 was FC versus EO, Stone versus ZF, Edgar versus Inspirited, Crystal versus Twash, and Feint and Hack were not in there. Were there more buys than I expected? Because actually everyone in yeah, everyone in round 2 of the thing was... You know what? I'm really not going to overthink this. That's not as important as the battles themselves. But there's something missing here. You know what? That's for another time. Crystal versus Aisha. There's that classic BKC rambling for you. So, because that makes it more conversational and fun. Anyway, taunt on the T-Spikes into Kyogre, into Lottie switch, Thunder, Para. Solid methodology here. Yeah, methodology is the word I want to use. This is scientific. There's another Thunder. There's a Para. Big damage. And Bronzong on Dio speed is not something you see that much. There's a Dialga pivot as Tentacruel comes back in. T-Spikes. There's a Thunder to just destroy. Oh my god, that's got to be Specs. That hit really hard. So now here comes Bronzong. Looking for a T-Wave on a Lottie Twin. Not getting it. And just overheating the... Ooh, barely taking it. And getting a Toxic off, so Protect, is it not going to... This is a cool set. Overheat, Declaw, T-Wave, no rocks? Hey, I'm digging, because I was expecting rocks. You also don't see too many Groudons alongside Tentacruel, so... Dio Speed... Oh, that sucks a lot. Overheat, critting through -2 against Dio Speed, and it gets no hazard. Oh, that's awful. So, Kyogre comes in. Latios, free Ice Beam there. Smacks it real hard. There's a Bronzong switch. Oh, there's a freeze too on the Latios. Okay. So, not wanting to stay in. Pivoting into... So, this is a mess of a haxy game. There's Zong getting rocks. And now Crystal is going to go... no, he's going to get parried. And here comes Ho-Oh and it subs. And there's another para. And Protect at least... Not going for Sacred Fire there on the Protect, nice, and now it KOs. So, Thunder, Sacred Fire doesn't do much, does not get the burn, so Ho is going to be chased out at least, but no rocks. So it's going to come back in later, and yeah, so great double to Crystal, by Crystal to Latios, but now he's not going to get very far because Bronzong in Sun against a Latios that doesn't have HP Fire because it's on a rain team. It's going to have Thunder. And then comes Kyogre and Weather War not looking so good. And more valiant attempts to double switch. Great move by Crystal to get Latios in with Rain Up so he can actually threaten the Bronzong with Thunder. But that was nullified by a great switch to Groudon on the Thunder. And now here comes the Bronzong on the Grass Knot. And yeah, so... Well, 2 misses there, one more expected than the other with the Sun Thunder, but Hypnosis, great move on Bronzong because it can do one of the problems Bronzong sometimes has is that it is very passive, and Hypnosis is very much turns the tables there. So there's Latios getting sacked at Dialga's Draco. Here comes Ho-Oh and sub up with T-Spikes, and yeah, this is Latios comes in again with the Rainy Thunder, but now Kyogre's down, so it doesn't even matter that Groudon's going to get KO'd after, because it's just going to be the Ho-Oh show at this point. In Sun, you don't want Sun Ho-Oh with no rocks, and so that was some really unfortunate stuff leading to that. And there's another Specs, good lord, that did so much. And he's trying to burst through Bronzong with Draco, doesn't quite make it. And in comes Explosion. Doesn't even KO Dialga, but that's a positive because it gets Ho-Oh in for free, gets a -4 Dialga. And in comes Kabutops. So, it's at pretty good health, so you can't just sub-stall it forever. But it does, yeah, Scarf Dialga just wins, so it doesn't even matter. So Aisha's going to take this first game. And down it goes. So, to game 2. Darkrai. Darkrai! Hey, we haven't seen any Darkrai's in this video at all until now. Crazy. So, Crystal goes first. Wonder if that's because it was Scarf or Speed Tie. We don't know yet. We see double, Dialga, Groudon. Skarmory, okay. Eating the T-Wave once again. Is this one also going to have Overheat? No, it has Rocks. There's a Toxic Miss. That's very unfortunate. Here's a Ho-Oh coming in. Again, Ho-Oh is pretty great, and Kyogre's not really an answer. So at least Crystal gets the spikes as opposed to Toxic and spikes. And Toxic in the ground would be big because, again, Weather War. And the Kyogre does not have lefties, so... And the Kyogre answer does not get taken by spikes, or hit by spikes. So, big advantage for Aisha here. Dialga comes in, eats a Draco. Gonna get rocks at least, but... at least now the hazard game is going a little more in Crystal's favor. Actually, that's a really big one because now Ho-Oh takes... that's a big one, actually, because not just having more hazards than Aisha in general, but rocks hit Latias now, and more importantly, cripple Ho. So just with those rocks, then suddenly became... But Aisha makes a great move to compensate for that. Now, Ho-Oh doesn't want to switch into attacks with rocks up, but on a double, facing off against Skarmory, yeah, good night. So, Kyogre comes in again. Obviously, the temptation to roost is really big here. Or just go right for Sacred Fire, so... And get the burn, so... And suddenly, it's been evened out again. So Crystal's not going to attack and withstand burn damage, and Aisha makes a great move going to Jirachi as opposed to Latias, because Crystal does not want to attack and actually take burn damage with Kyogre. Got to preserve it at all costs now, while trying to wear down the Groudon with more hazards, which, you know, doable, especially with some good Whirlwind action. But yeah, Skarmory and Rain is actually kind of a big pain. Imagine if that Groudon had been hit with Toxic. It'd be very... So there's a big push. I really like the push and pull of this Weather War dynamic. It's constantly changing in this battle. Really like it. So there's a Scarf from Darkrai, and it locks the Jirachi in. So now here comes Groudon to receive the Wish, which is going to let it take that Dark Pulse even. Oh, great move by Crystal. You don't see Nasty Plot on Scarf Darkrai that much, but works really well here, because as opposed to just Dark Pulse thudding into Groudon receiving Wish, then now you smack the Groudon or something else with +2 Dark Pulse, and that is going to be another push and pull in the Weather War. Because yes, now the Darkrai gets T-Waved, but Groudon took a big hit too. So now suddenly winning that Rain Weather War became just that much more feasible. And now here comes Skarmory after not just smacking the Jirachi. Oh, Healing Wish, nicely done. Ooh, imagine if Darkrai had stayed in, and then whatever came in would have gotten... Because now Groudon gets Healing Wish to or Ho-Oh. See, there's the Healing Wish working, taking the rocks, and now it's back at full. So that's really bad. But imagine if Darkrai had stayed in, and whatever got Healing Wish to had also been forced to take that +2 Dark Pulse. I mean, Ho-Oh would have taken it pretty well, so it probably wouldn't have made that big a difference. But it's... Yeah, but then Darkrai would still be at full health, and Ho-Oh would have to actually fight it one-on-one, as opposed to this complete dominance of a matchup it walked into against Skarmory. So now here comes Skarm, and if the Ho-Oh subs, then just good enough. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, Ho-Oh's gonna have to... Or Skarmory's gonna have to, whirlwind it out here, which is not the worst, I guess, because if Ho-Oh attacks, then it's going to... and Weather War won officially, by the way. So Healing Wish on even bulky Jirachi. Another way of upturning its potential passivity by using it to completely reinforce your offensive threat. I really like that. So Healing Wish and Lunar Dance, big, showing a lot of potential in this one. And Edgar Scarf Jirachi had Healing Wish too. So, point being, if Ho-Oh did attack Skarmory under Rain, then, I mean, yeah, Skarm getting burned would be terrible, but at least Ho-Oh would not be healing, and it would be at 13 when it came back in. So he chooses to go to Mewtwo instead, and he taunts and blocks the recover, and now, yeah, I don't know if that was the way to go, because now he's going to Healing Wish and, or sorry, he's going to sack it, but... Yeah, I don't know if that was it. Well, now the Dialga... Okay, so he still has the Skarmory. So he's... I mean, it is very feasible. Now the Ho's going to be... I guess now the Ho's at 10 when it comes in instead of 13. But so it is very feasible for Mewtwo to take over this game. So Skarmory comes back in. Giratina is going to land a Toxic on it. So I do kind of like Mewtwo's odds here. Especially because we don't know Crystal's last. And Dialga comes in on the HP Fire. There's Light Screen, so it does look like Stall 2. Taunt, Light Screen, Recover, Wisp. So this does look like the kind... Well, no, because Ho-Oh walls it because it does 0%. Oh, yeah, so... I mean, you can taunt the Ho-Oh, but... Yeah, so in comes Darkrai. You can't even hurt the Darkrai, which is unfortunate. And now the Darkrai... sorry for skipping around. Darkrai comes in and tricks the Scarm, so he can Whirlwind a bunch... No, he's a spam Toxic. That's smarter. Yeah, Latias gets Toxic. Mewtwo comes in. I mean, I guess it still depends on this last. Another Healing Wish from Latias. That's very cool. Love it, love it, love it. So now he can taunt the Ho-Oh. And it's Giratina O. I guess that is not unexpected. So, yeah, but now, I mean, Giratina gets burned. It doesn't even matter. Ho is just going to win this game hilariously easily. Arguably shouldn't even be staying in here, but... yeah, I guess Darkrai would kind of... Yeah, Darkrai does kind of win this, too. No, you want to preserve the Ho just because it can never be KO'd by Mewtwo, so... Yeah, Taunt, Sacred Fire, does 1,000,000 damage, burn, doesn't even matter. Yeah, and that's going to be the game. So Aisha's going to take this. So in the next video, we will... finally finish the round of 16 tiebreak. And then after that, we will launch into the playoffs. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.